On the morning of December 7, 1941, the Japanese Navy launched a sneak attack on the United States Naval Base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. Roughly 3,500 Americans lost their lives that day. This attack decidedly steered the United States away from a policy of non-interventionism. The United States declared war on Japan on December 8th. This led to a fully committed United States with a full alliance with Great Britain and therefore the Allies. With the US involved directly in the war, Japan's allies, Germany and Italy, declared war on the United States on December 11th. The United States responded by declaring war on those nations. Let us back up a moment, though. It's easy to think of the day that Pearl Harbor was attacked simply as that, a date which will live in infamy, as Franklin Roosevelt said. There must have been a reason for the Japanese to attack the United States and therefore bring us full-fledged into the war. It is important that we understand the motivations behind events in history, as they give us insight into the minds of those we cannot ask such important questions. Let us consider this question. Was the attack on Pearl Harbor entirely unprovoked? Why did Japan incite such a dangerous opponent, which the United States most certainly was, especially at such a critical time during the war? We will need some background information to provide us with context so we can answer these questions. In September 1940, the United States placed an embargo on steel, iron, and aviation fuel going to Japan. This was the result of their occupation of the northern French Indochina. In April 1941, Japan signed a neutrality agreement with the Soviet Union, allowing them to focus on Asia without worry of reprisal from the West. This allowed them to concentrate their defenses on the Pacific. In July 1941, Japan now occupied southern Indochina as well, which prompted the United States, Great Britain, and the Netherlands to cut off their supply of oil to Japan. Japan relied on these nations for the vast majority of their oil. Japan was now in the midst of a crisis due to the oil embargo and began to pursue oil in Southeast Asia. The United States government wanted to stop this expansion, but the American people were opposed to any direct intervention at this time. Japan attempted to negotiate with the United States to lift the oil embargo, but refused to give up its conquests. Nothing was able to be resolved this way. Japan decided to push into the islands of the Pacific to establish a defensive perimeter in case of war with the United States. Japan expected this to provoke the United States into declaring war. They decided that the American Pacific Naval Fleet posed the greatest danger and had to be dealt with. The American Pacific Fleet was based in Pearl Harbor, and the Japanese devised a preemptive strike to disrupt their operations in the Pacific theater. With all of this background information, we need to reevaluate the idea that Japan attacked Pearl Harbor just for the sake of committing an evil act. Although we may not agree with their rationale, it is important to understand that they feared the American fleet in the Pacific as the only force that could stop them. These are important questions to consider, and we will discuss them in class. These questions are so important, in fact, that I can promise that they will be relevant to the essay exam that I will be assigning next week. I'll see you in class next time.